Good morning, Duval. Welcome to another edition of Duval Rundown. I'm Hayes Carline. Pleased to be joined by my good friend Rick Ballou. We've got lots to get to today, Rick, with the Steelers rolling into town Saturday night. Let's first off start with Liam Cohen's going to play the starters. Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. It's the right move. I mean, you look at Mike Tomlin, and they're a winning team every year. It's the same system. Granted, new players there, including quarterback Aaron Rodgers. But, I love this. I asked Liam on Tuesday, and he said he had contacted Mike Tomlin, and they were going back and forth. But it felt like to me, Hayes, that Liam Cohen became the alpha here. I mean, it would have been very easy to just respect a veteran coach like Mike Tomlin and say, no, I'm not going to go with my starters. I'm going to wait another week. But it feels like this organization said, we're a totally new offense, totally new defense. We're implementing new schemes. I have unofficially 48 new players on the 90-man roster. So things like they haven't experienced live tackling, just getting rep after rep after rep with everything being new. So I love what they're doing. I think it's the right move. How about you?
Oh, I agree. Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting that Liam Cohen let us know that it was Robert Hainsey, the center, that came up to him Tuesday in the weight room on an off day and was like, hey, what are we doing? And Liam was like, well, I'm going back and forth with it. And he was like, well, we want to play. I know you've talked at great length for a number of years about where's the edge to this offensive line. I took that as a pretty good first step for this offensive line, that at least there is one leader among that group.
Yeah, it's a good point. And, how much have they really been tested so far? That feels like, we still don't know for sure who those starting five are going to be. So, reps are incredibly important. I just think it's everything that, including there with the offensive line, it hasn't been, I think, a great 12 practices as far as, Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence not on the same page. It feels like Brown and Hunter are more advanced right now than Thomas Jr. Although I thought he had a good practice yesterday. So, this is another reason to get them out there. But I do like that with Robert Hainsey. To me, the identification, the heart of every really good football team is the offensive line. And maybe this is a sign that the offensive line is going to be a little bit more vocal, and maybe it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, and I think the offensive line has done a pretty good job throughout training camp run blocking since, the pads have now been on for, about a week and a half or so. But they went goal line the other day, and it was right back to where we've been in terms of failure to be able to get a yard on the ground. And again, this defensive front does not have Eric Armstead or Mason Smith. And I want to say they were like 0 for 5. They did score because they threw it, once it got to like fourth down, but a couple sequences there with the starters. I can't remember what day that would have been. Maybe that would have been, I think, Wednesday's practice. And it was a good overall day for the offense on Wednesday after a dreadful Tuesday. But I mean, it was hard to get the images of, 4 straight run stuffs. So again, and I get it, they're working through it. But so is the defensive line that's undermanned, and they stoned them each time.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, so much attrition right now on that defensive line. Yet it just feels like they're ahead of the offensive line. That includes one-on-one drills, in my opinion. If you really were to examine position groups on the offense, I would say right now they would have to be absolutely thrilled about what they're getting at running back. I mean, all 5 of those backs. Wide receivers, your top 3. Parker Washington is a 4, makes plays every day.
Yep.
They're happy there. Tight ends, I've actually been pleasantly surprised with Hunter Long. So I think they feel really good about. Then you get to the offensive line, and it's like, here we go again. And they've tried. You can't fix it overnight. They brought in 6 new bodies. But it's crystal clear that is still, the major Achilles heel of this football team. And I don't know how they're going to be able to figure it out as far as combinations. Here's another side to it. And, there's different ways of looking at it. But, we know that Watt's not going. We know that Cam Hayward's not going. Their top 3 corners aren't going. We'll see who does Mike Tomlin play. But is it worth it to get the reps, which I love, and have an offensive line go against twos and threes, and you get extensive work. Again, you're working as you can get it, but you're not taking on the competition that you're going to get in 1 month here against Carolina. I've always, it's I don't want to say it's like going out to the hard top and playing basketball with a bunch of 6-year-olds, but you know what I'm getting at is what are you really gaining about going against a group that is going to be, working for FedEx in a month?
I like it from an operational standpoint. It's a good point in terms of the level of competition that they'll be going against. It'll be similar to what we saw in the mock game, Friday night, where it was ones versus twos for the majority of that practice. And then at the very end, they did go ones versus ones. But I think the biggest thing is just them getting out there as a unit and going through the execution of, again, it's going to be vanilla. We know that. I mean, Liam Cohen's not going to show a lot of elaborate things, nor should he. And it's going to be the same thing with Anthony Campanile on the defensive side. So it's going to be vanilla on both fronts. But I think just the importance of getting out there as a unit, breaking the huddle, going through the routine, coming off the field, making some adjustments, going back out, because it feels like Liam Cohen didn't get into details with us about it, but it made it sound like when he joined Kay Adams that probably looking at like a quarter for the starter. So you figure that's 2 possessions in all likelihood. So, I would think just operationally,
it'd be 4 possessions if it was last year's Jaguars team.
Well, that's the other thing too that's encouraging for me, because yes, the offensive line still has to prove that it really is better from a physicality standpoint. And look, they don't have Patrick McCary out there yet. I mean, he's doing some things, but he's not yet cleared for team. And I say that he didn't do anything this week. Maybe he's now cleared moving forward, but McCary, has been limited in terms of what he can do coming back from the back injury, and he very well may end up being their best offensive lineman. So, so I get that, but but in looking at it, it is interesting, where they are right now and the number of options that they have, with Chuma Edoga having a strong camp and things like that. But getting back to your point, I've been really encouraged with the scheme, the screen game in particular. I mean, yesterday they hit a well-designed screen to ETN that went for a huge gain that, was defended fine. It was just a really well-executed play. And, watching Liam Cohen scheme throughout training camp, I mean, it looks like, Doug Peterson and Press Taylor's playbook were written in crayon compared to what we've seen out of Liam Cohen so far. So that's been really encouraging. But yeah, I mean, I think in looking at it, it's still really interesting to see who those 5 are going to be up front, and and to see the cohesiveness. So I'm excited that they're going to play. I think a quarter is about right. And I would anticipate that they'll play at a high level. You mentioned the running backs, Rick. What is standing out to you among that group?
All 5. I mean, you mentioned ET. That might have been his best practice yesterday. He was just explosive. I mean, faster than I ever remember him. And, I'm really surprised that there's a large contingency of fans that have given up on him. And I don't know why that is. I assume it may be the 14-point swing last year on opening day at Miami with that fumble. And they just can't get over it. But he's been real consistent when it comes to hanging on to the football. And, we keep talking about Allen Jr. and I interviewed Bashal Tutin yesterday. There's all this hype for these young backs, which I get. But I still think when it's all said and done, it's going to be Tank Bigsby and it's going to be Travis Etienne. But then you get to the late round draft pick and LaQuinton Allen Jr. What's amazing about this, Hayes, is there's people out there who believe he's best on the team in pass protection, which we just talked about the offensive line. Okay. Pass protection, if you really want to do everything you can to make Trevor Lawrence better, you have to have a back in there that is willing to pass protect and lay it all on the line. And I think it's a good group as far as pass protection. But I think that's something that's overlooked at times, and I think it's going to be very important. And we could maybe even see some pony offense at one point, where Liam Cohen did that last year in Tampa, where he had two back sets. I mean, you think of Liam Cohen, and exactly, I mean, he'll stretch you east and west with that screen game, and of course, he'll take deep shots. But also, the second most offensive formations he ran last year was double tight. And again, he'll go one tight, two back set. So this offense is going to be, so diverse, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But they may think Allen's the best in pass protect, has the best hands on the team, and if it's where they struggle, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, is he your best back in a short yardage situation?
If a back is expendable, because I agree with you, I think they've got 5 good ones. If one of those, in terms of Etienne and Bigsby, those would be the only 2 guys that I think they'd be willing to part with. Do you see that maybe being a possibility, particularly if, in the other 31 camps, if a key running back goes down?
I don't know.
When I say expendable, like a trade, not releasing the player.
Right. I think right now I'm not getting enough for him. Now, if you said to me, we want Travis Etienne, we're giving you a starting interior defensive lineman, a defensive tackle, or someone in, let's say, a 3 or 4 man rotation that can come here and really help the football team. Okay, I'd think about that. But I think realistically, what will happen is I think Charlotte is all Etienne. I think Carolina is all Etienne and Bigsby. Again, maybe some third down stuff there for Allen or Tootin, but we'll see. What really becomes important is how do they do out of the gate? That's a tough road schedule. Those 2 out of those first 4 going out on the road, plus a Houston divisional game. If they are struggling once again, and you get pretty close to the trade deadline, then I think everything changes. Then you say to yourself, we're not going to re-sign Travis Etienne. We might as well get something for him. But, I'd be surprised if they did it. We've seen it before. I mean, they just flat out released Leonard Fournette, a week before the season. That was pretty bizarre, going back, 5-6 years ago. So I'd like to keep them, all 5 of them right now, maybe put Jackson on the practice squad. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see. And again, they could have their own injury in that room. And then you're it's not what you want, but they're well equipped to handle that. I think I'm kind of with you. Like, to me, it would take one of the other clubs having a pretty devastating injury to, one of their top 2 backs. But yeah, certainly if I could help my defensive front with a running back trade, I would certainly do that. But I'm with you. If it's for like a 5th round pick in next year's draft, then I think you're better off to probably just hold on to the player. Let's switch it to the defensive side. What has stood out to you so far, and what are your expectations for what we'll see defensively Saturday night against the Steelers?
Jordan Lewis has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're ranking the top 5 guys in training camp, he has to be in there. I mean, he and Trayvon Walker, in my opinion, have been the 2 most consistent defensive players. But, it just seems like this contained. That's the biggest difference for me. They look faster. They look more physical. Their nonstop work on takeaways has been pretty cool to see, because what I really like about this coaching staff is it feels like they have identified the plethora of problems that this team has had, and they've attacked it since day one. I mean, 8 takeaways as a defense, that is so embarrassing as a professional football organization. And they have been working on that time and again and time and again. So I love what I'm seeing. I know there's still some concerns about the second safety. I do think this new defensive scheme and what Anthony Campanelli is going to run in that contain, and the way that he's going to use his safeties in a zone with eyes on the quarterback, I think is going to help this group. I think the linebackers are flying all over the football field. I mean, I hate to say it because he's in a contract year, much like Etienne, but Devin Lloyd's all over the place. I mean, he's just been in, why would they ever take Foye Oluokun, who's such a solid football player? Why would they move him? Why did last year's organization move? I mean, sometimes
Dumb.
you just leave things where they are, especially when it's their best player. So,
Yeah.
I like the depth, something that Trent Baalke never did. You bring back Smoot, you add Emmanuel Ogba. I think there's a little bit of depth there. And as we pointed out at the top, I really like this defense. We saw some blitzing on Friday night at the scrimmage from the linebackers, including another really good blitz there by Devin Lloyd. Everyone who's a fan has been following that. They know, once again, that the big issue there is, what's going on as far as the rotation. How healthy can that interior defensive line get?
Let's talk Travis Hunter. What are your expectations for what we'll see out of Hunter's workload Saturday against the Steelers?
Tell you what, that itself makes this really worth being there. I mean, it's worth being there anywhere, but this is a little something extra special, which I think is going to be cool for Jaguars fans. He showed he was human yesterday, right? Dropped the ball early in the week. He got beat. He's still human, and he's going to make mistakes. He's a rookie. Travis Hunter's going to get beat for a touchdown at corner. Travis Hunter's going to drop a football here and there. I tell you what, I've seen the last 2 days where I held my breath a little bit, and I don't need to see this on Saturday night. That's Travis Hunter routes across the middle of the field, behind the linebackers, in front of the safeties. He made a grab there yesterday, and he made one there on Wednesday. And I'm just sitting there saying, all right, Travis Hunter, bomb, line of scrimmage, just find a way to get him the ball, out routes, and then all of a sudden reality comes in. It's like, come on, Baloo. It's football. He's a football player. He's going to run routes across the middle. But it was kind of interesting because I found myself doing that in consecutive days over there at the Miller Electric Center.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, because we know these coaches typically can get a little spooked by what happens around the league in training camp. And the injury bug hadn't really hit the league until yesterday, and then it hit hard. The Chargers lose Rashawn Slater, their standout left tackle for the year, with a torn patella tendon. Now, that happened in practice, not in a game. Then we see last night Anthony Richardson get just absolutely lit up and dislocate his pinky finger, which I'm assuming is going to put him on the shelf for a little bit of time. Houston, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is dealing with a knee injury that, while not season ending, seems like it's significant. So it does make me wonder. I mean, obviously we know the Stars are playing Saturday, but it does make me wonder if the Jaguars, Baselli and Gladstone and Cohen survey it, and if it affects them at all in terms of their plan for Saturday, maybe in terms of just the length. Because like last night we saw with like the Raiders, Geno Smith played, but I mean, it was like literally 5 snaps and he was out. So it's interesting because every team is sort of doing it their own way. Some obviously aren't playing at all. Cincinnati played a lot. I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were out there for probably that entire first quarter. Chase, had like 3 or 4 catches, looked great, but you worry about, well, what if somebody, a third team corner trying to make a name for himself, hip drop tackles him and breaks his leg? Those are the things that you have to worry about. So I'm intrigued to see, particularly since we know Liam Cohen was sort of going back and forth on whether to play them at all, how some circumstances around the league, if that'll maybe affect them at all from a playtime standpoint on Saturday.
Yeah, it's it's a major focus. I know it's something that every staff and the front office, they hate. I think preseason's important. I think preseason games are important. I get the sense around the league that they're not. You look at what Aaron Rodgers said yesterday. Now, Aaron Rodgers is probably the exception of the rule at 41, but he just laughed at the thought of playing in a preseason football game. Here right now, you have to get these guys ready. And, the best way to get them ready is, again, not for them to be sitting on the sideline watching, these guys got to play football. And I get the risk, and everyone out there gets the risk that there are going to be injuries. Jacksonville's already suffered what I think are, at least two guys that would have been in their top 12, 13, 14, defensive players as far as the rotation. Three, honestly, if you add Buster Brown. I mean, that's three guys that, could start the year on the IR. Who the heck knows what's going on with Eric Armstead? I keep looking at Mason Smith, and it feels like he's getting close. Just watching him, work on the side. But yeah, that's one of the many things that you have to deal with. And we all heard about this new organization. We all heard about collaboration. Okay, in my world, there's one boss, and that one boss makes that decision. I would love to have heard how those conversations went when Liam Cohen is sitting with Tony Vaselli, when and he's sitting with James Gladstone, and the conversation comes up. Okay, are we playing our starters? Are we playing Travis Hunter both ways? If so, how much? Does the tone of the game change that? Does Pittsburgh not playing starters change that? I think it's very fluid as to how you handle this situation. But bottom line, these guys need reps.
Without a doubt. Well said. Rick, I really appreciate your time, man. I'll look forward to seeing you in the press box tomorrow night. It's going to be fun being there with all the fans. Again, remember, fans, construction going on outside the stadium. Give yourselves, budget an extra 20 minutes. Once you're in the stadium, everything's the same, but they're working on putting on the roof, the infrastructure for the roof canopy for the Stadium of the Future. So there is some construction going on the exterior of the stadium. But don't let that spoil your fun. Just, have some patience, give yourself a little extra time. And again, once you're in the stadium, everything is what you're accustomed to. So should be a fun night. And Rick, I'll look forward to talking with you next week when we break down what we saw against the Steelers. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you tomorrow night. Should be a pretty entertaining preseason game, number one.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for us. We'll be back. Duval Rundown on Wednesday next week. Again, we're scheduling these on Jaguar off days because when they're practicing, obviously, we're out there at this time. So next Wednesday, Duval Rundown. Until then, enjoy the game. Take care. Thank you.